And it's a great thing to go live. And that's just the way it is. What are we going to talk about today? Just a bit of showbiz. Alrighty. Ugly uniforms. Alright, let's see what we got here. Got it turned off. Be too long. It's a very uncomforting situation over here. But me, of course, I am going to make the best of it because I am the great Coach Hall. All right. 1 minute down. This is Sports for Real with Coach Hall on this post wildcard weekend playoffs in the NFL. Got a few surprises, but for the most part, everything went according to seedings. In AFC, no upsets there. Buffalo pulled away from Denver in the 2-7 game. Baltimore took care of my Steelers in the 4-5 game. And Pittsburgh was 3-6. And then the Chargers got beat in the 4-5 game. Even though the Chargers were the 5th seed, a lot of people consider them as the favorite. But Houston, they got a few turnovers from the Chargers, and it made it kind of snowballed a little bit on the Chargers there. And Herbert, he threw a deadly pick six. Then he got another interception off of INT. And the things just went against the Chargers. And they blame it on pretty much that the team is snake bit now after having that big lead against the Jaguars a couple years ago, and then to come back and lose against the Texans, even though you got two different regimes there, they're not really, one thing doesn't have anything to do with the other, but people are saying that the Chargers, they just can't get it done. In the NFC last night, you had the Commanders getting the fumble out of Baker Mayfield, and ended up kicking a game-winning field goal and knocked the Bucs off. They've done it to the Bucs before, so that's no real surprise. But the question is, can you do it in the next round? They now have to go to Detroit to take on the top-seeded Lions. How you doing, Dimpo? You have to go to Detroit to take on the top-seeded Lions. And a lot of people feel like the Commanders don't have a chance. But this team here is playing with a chip on their shoulder, like it doesn't really matter who they play against. Well, reality tends to strike the higher you go up in the playoff match. And if you got any kind of holes at all, I don't care how much confidence you have, you can still get beat and beat up pretty good. I am in Florida, United States. Now, history is on the Commanders' side. Redskins, I still call them the Redskins. I don't know how you feel about that, but that's the way I feel. These teams have played, 47 times in their history, including the playoffs. Washington has got 31 of them. Up until 2013, Detroit hadn't won in Washington since, actually they never won in Washington. They won in Boston in 1935, so they went like 75 years without winning against the Redskin franchise. But the good thing is for Detroit, it's not in Washington. It's going to be in Detroit. And the way that Detroit took apart Minnesota last week, I got a feeling that they're probably going to take apart the Commanders' offense the same way. And if they're able to do that, then they're going to make short work of this Commanders team. Now, the Bucs, they gave the Commanders a lot of opportunities there, and it was a nip and tuck back and forth game, which is what you want to see in the playoffs. But whatever, man. I don't know if whatever. I'm not gonna answer that. But anyway, that caused them to end up losing that game because they, hey man, go talk to somebody else about that kind of stuff, man. I don't play all that. You go tell somebody else that. I'm not interested. Unless you female, I don't want to hear that. But anyway, Detroit has the opportunity to get to the Super Bowl, which they never really had that opportunity. The last time they got to the NFC Championship game back in '91, standing in their way was the Washington franchise, and that team was loaded. They were the best team all year long, and they pretty much took Detroit apart at the knees before halftime. And I think, as in everything else, turnabout is fair play. So now, Detroit has the gun, and I think they're going to take the Commanders apart at the knees. And it's going to make for an interesting championship game because I'm starting to feel like that it's not going to be Minnesota that's going to be there. They know they can beat Minnesota. It's going to be another team coming out of the NFC. And a lot of people think the way that the Rams are playing and gelling at the right time, that it could be the Rams and the Lions for the championship game. But that's a couple weeks away. But the question was, do you think the Commanders have an opportunity to beat the Lions? I'm telling you right now, I don't think so. Tech Wolf says, okay. I'm a Lions fan. I feel if the Lions control Daniels' feet, they have a chance. Don't give him a lot of scramble options. So you don't think that Daniels can beat you through the air? Are you talking about football? Yes, I'm talking about football. What are you talking about? So JC, do you think you don't think that Daniels is a threat through the air? Kind of reminds me, all the quarterbacks now that's running, they pretty much all play the same kind of style. If you can stand in there and throw the football, when it counts the most. How you doing, Diami Brown? If you can stand in there and throw it when it counts the most, then your running ability becomes much more effective. But if all you can do is run, at some point they're gonna take that away from you, and you're gonna have to stand in there and throw the ball. And I've been saying all along, as good as Jackson appears, if you take the running game away from him, then his ability to throw and beat you with that particular weapon is not very strong. All right, Pugs Forever, do you think the Eagles have a chance? Yeah, the Eagles have a chance. They're going to, I forget who, the Eagles get the winner of Minnesota and the Rams. The Eagles have a real good chance, especially with the Rams having to come east or the Vikings having to go outdoors. That's a great advantage for Philadelphia. Plus, that's a raucous environment, and anything happen in Philadelphia, and it has before. But I think that if they get a couple of turnovers going their way, I think they have a chance really to get to that championship round. But here's the thing, though. That game last night against Packers, the announcer, I think it was Tom Brady, he ain't the greatest as an announcer. He's okay. But if you paying attention, that guy, helmet to helmet on that opening kickoff that caused that fumble, they kept saying in the booth that it was helmet on the football. He didn't get anywhere near the man with the football. He hit him helmet to helmet. Their foreheads crashed together. That was a clear helmet to helmet. And I don't know why that play was not penalized, but that set the tone for the whole game. Really, that was the difference in the game. And I don't know how you miss a call like that. It's kind of like the same thing that happened in the Arizona State-Texas game. It was a clear case of targeting, and they didn't call it. So if you're not going to call it in the most crucial times, then that's a rule that needs to be thrown out. JC says, I think Lions secondary would keep the receivers in check, like they shut down Jefferson for Minnesota. Yeah, I think they will slow Washington down, but they got a couple guys on there, McLaurin, that can make some plays. So you're gonna have to keep Daniels in the pocket, keep him from getting loose. But it's kind of hard to say when you got big defensive linemen chasing a speedy young quarterback like Daniels down. If you saw last night, the most critical play of the game, that defender from the Bucs, he scraped through the line. He had a clear beat at Daniels, but Daniels outran him and was able to get that key first down to seal the game. And that's the only thing, though. You just got to take the proper angle to keep these guys in the pocket. But if you let them get loose, then it's going to be a problem. So I don't know. But yes, the Eagles have a chance, and but right now the Rams might just be one of those teams that you don't want to play against. They come up with good schemes. It's a matter of if they can make a play or not. And Detroit Ram game would be another good classic if they were to match up in that championship round. But Philadelphia, with Saquon running that football, they're going to be a hard out. But they can be slowed as well. You can't be one-dimensional. I don't care what style of play you have. A lot of great players, and just like in college, the deeper you go in the rounds, the harder it becomes, the better the games become. So that'd be some football worth paying the admission price for. But yeah, I think that the Commanders, this is a team of the future. If they keep putting the right pieces around a guy like Daniels, if you go back to RG3, if he doesn't get hurt, he would have had a pretty decent career. But injuries slowed him down, and once you start nipping at those running legs, and you can't escape the way you want, then it changes your whole game, and that's what happened to RG3. And these running quarterbacks, when they start putting hits on these guys, it starts to have an effect on them. J.C. Sills, I think, okay, I read that. Do you think the best team is Eagles or the Vikings? That's a good question. I got question marks about the Vikings. I think that Donald eventually is going to crash back down to earth and become Sam Darnold again. And the way that they played against Detroit when they had the opportunity to get that top seed, they laid an egg. I don't know if that was more Detroit or how much that the Vikings played into that. But either way, it's not a good sign. So I think if you took Minnesota and had to go to Philadelphia, I think the Eagles are going to win that game. It won't be a blowout, but 7 to 10 points, yeah. I take Philadelphia over Minnesota. AFC is too close to call. KC, Buffalo, Baltimore are all playing well. Yeah, again, the early rounds, you get rid of the teams that are pretenders. I never seen my Steelers play so bad against the run. And I've been watching the Steelers over 45 years. So how is it, all of a sudden you can't stop the run? And what confused me about what Pittsburgh did, there's a formula to stopping the Ravens or any other team. Like Washington would fit into this plan because they got the same kind of attack as the Ravens. You have to stop the running game between the tackles first. Forget the running quarterback. That would take care of itself. But if you're trying to chase after the running quarterback and try to stop the run at the same time, that stuff they're talking about, pick your poison all the time, that's what they're talking about. You have to take away that run first. If you didn't already know, Kansas City showed you how to stop Baltimore in the playoffs last year. They stopped the run between the tackles. Then when Jackson tried to run to the outside, they kept him contained. So the only thing left now, he has to stand in there and throw the football. And that is the one thing that he has not shown you he can do, that he can stand in there and throw the football when it counts the most. But if he's able to get to the outside and Henry is able to get those long runs, then you're going to have wide open receivers. They ain't the deepest routes, 5 to 7. You get those little 5-7 yard outs, and then they catch the ball and they get the first down. There's nothing great about that. Basically, a high school offense is what they're running. But when you have to throw the ball down the field to seal the game, Jackson hasn't shown he can do that. By comparison, Mahomes, he had to hit that 3rd down and 10 to convert to win the game against Baltimore when it counted the most. What did he do? He hit Valdez-Scantling for a 13, 14-yard gain to seal it. We hadn't seen that from Jackson. All right. 7 PRS. Revenge game for Commanders. That Ben Johnson-ish he pulled in the offseason. Well, I think he's going to do it again. Everybody's talking about he's the hot candidate for all these jobs, but I think he's, the guys, Silvio the Soprano said some people are better at being number 2s. I'm starting to think Johnson is one of those guys. As long as he can stay and call plays and don't have to worry about all the other stuff that the head coach deals with, I think he's enjoying that position. It's always nice to be courted no matter what position you're in. And I think he's enjoying the courtship because he have interviewed for some jobs. But if he starts to turn down more and more jobs, he's going to get a reputation of somebody that's not serious, and he's not going to be hot anymore. And I think that he's going to do the same thing to Chicago. Mike Vrabel took the job at New England, so he won't get that one. And it's either Jacksonville or the Raiders. They're talking to Raiders right now. Chris Bristol, how you doing, man? I'm good. I hope you're good too. Revenge games for the Manners. All right, like and subscribe, you lazy slackers. I appreciate that, Edwin CV. But yeah, Ben Johnson, he did the Commanders dirty. I feel like if you don't want the job, why would you waste people's time in the interview unless you just practicing? And you should coach the Pats. You got the spirit. Yeah, I do. But Mike Vrabel's already got that job. Right now, I'm scrapping for a high school job. I'm up for one. And if I get it, then I'll let you know about it. I got some ideas about the offense of the future. I've seen bits and pieces of what I've been thinking, what people have done, but I'm far beyond what you're seeing. And with the way that the rules are, they're kind of backing up. It's becoming flag football. And I got an extensive flag football base from years ago. And that's basically what they're doing. They're turning pro football into flag football. Okay, sir, we support you. Appreciate it. You should, and if you don't believe me about the flag football, why are we playing flag football at the Pro Bowl? They have the guys that we don't want anybody to get hurt, so we're going to just play flag. It's exciting for the young kids, but if you know how things work, they just putting it out there just to see how the fans would take that. And then I think what eventually is going to happen is with all the tackling rules, they're just going to keep taking away more and more violence out of the game, and it's going to become flag football, and they're going to blow it. And then once they lose the crowd, then they're going to try to do like baseball, try to come back. But once you turn tackle football into flag, that's going to be the end of football. And it's headed that way. Lions are the best team, but they have to be on upset alert. Everybody needs to be on upset alert. KC is best in the AFC. They have to be alert as well. Yes, KC's got a rabbit foot in their pocket. And as long as they keep that rabbit foot in their pocket, they got a chance to beat anybody. But eventually, some things aren't going to go their way. At some point, they're not going to get the call they've been getting away with. And they are very susceptible to get beat. Now, will the Texans do it? No, I don't think the Texans could beat them. They're not playing as well as they did last year. They won a playoff game last year, and then they stumbled on the road at Baltimore. They played good for a quarter and a half. So just like the Chargers fell apart midway through the second quarter, expect to see that in Kansas City on Saturday. All right, don't you think they should end that silly Pro Bowl? Well, I mean, the kids like it, but like I said, when they were playing in the Pro Bowl tackle, they wasn't really playing hard. I mean, they horsing around, and it got a little bit more serious as it got toward the end of the game because money was on the line. But nobody really wants to play. They're always skipping out on the Pro Bowl the same way the college players are opting out of these college bowl games now. It's the same thing. So it was good marketing for the league to come up with flag football because flag football is growing in popularity. It's always been popular in certain places, but now they're talking about making it an Olympic sport. So it's a good marketing opportunity for the league, but I still think it's also a testing ground to see how people will accept it. And so far, people are accepting it. Unless you're an old head like myself, we don't care nothing about flag football. We want to see somebody get hit. We want to see some of those ticky-tack rules they got. We want to take that dress off the quarterback. He playing the game, let him get hit. You know, I don't see why a quarterback should have so many more protections than a regular player when they all playing the same game. So it's a lot of things that stink about the NFL, especially when you start talking about personal safety of the players. Since when they really cared about the personal safety of the players? They didn't think that CTE stuff existed. But once they accepted it, then they went crazy with it. And that's just the way the things work. I just had a thought about this guy, Steve Stonebreaker. I don't know why. I have these idle thoughts. I think about somebody from my past. I guess I'm reminiscing before I get too old to be able to do it ahead of time. And this guy, Steve Stonebreaker, he used to play with the Vikings. And I used to watch these NFL films, and he used to play against guys like Jim Brown in the 60s. And he was playing for the Colts when they got upset by Baltimore in 64. But the thing about him, his son, Mike, played for Notre Dame. And they became one of the few father and sons that ever played for the Saints. There's like 3 or 4 of them. So Mike and Steve Stonebreaker were former players of the Saints, father and son. But what I mentioned that name for is I found out that the guy committed suicide. So I'm thinking maybe he had a little CTE himself. A lot of those guys, they always find a way to commit suicide some way. And this particular guy, he did that garage thing where you close it up and run your car and carbon monoxide kill you. That's what he did. There were some things that played into that, but I'm starting to think that CTE has something to do with his death too. So that's just another one of the former NFL players who had CTE who managed to commit suicide. And the league, they didn't care nothing about those older players, but now they're going overboard with it, and I think it threatens to ruin the game. People watch football to see somebody get hit. It's a tough physical game, and you can't have a tough physical game if you're going to blow the whistle and call a foul for a forced tackle. It does not compute. If you really had a concussion, then you know it's real. Fortunately, I never had a concussion. JC, was that JC? No, that was Edwin CV. Oh, who said that? No, Edwin CV said that. No, I never had one, but I've seen the effects of a concussion, and nobody really wants that. And move on, say preach. I'm not preaching, man. I'm just telling you, man. Football is on its way out, man. So enjoy it while you can. But if you're going to flag a guy for a forced tackle, I mean, the helmet is designed for minimal contact against the head, just in case you don't, when you tackle and you slide the head to the left or right, if you get some minimal contact with the helmet, I mean, then that's what it's for. Swapping paint, no big deal. Now, you had some guys back in the days that used to use that as a weapon, but it was obvious the ones who did that. And they didn't get punished for it. Another thing they used to do, they used to fall on you 3-4 seconds after the play was over with. Coach said get to the football, right? Well, that defensive lineman, you see you on the ground, he come over there, he's going to fall on you. So the coach can't say, well, you didn't get to the ball. They never called a penalty for that. But now you can't even get anywhere close to that. They'd throw you out of the game if you did that. So they cleaned up some things, so I guess that's for the better. But as anything, if you go overboard, it ruins the product. And NFL and everything they do trickles down to the lower levels, and football is on the clock, man. And hopefully it don't go out before I do, because I like to see some football, even though it's watered down. But it pisses you off a lot of times when they start calling that BS. And then the obvious ones they miss, like yesterday with the Eagles and Packers, the man crashed helmet to helmet on the opening kickoff. The announcers say he put the helmet on the ball. He wasn't anywhere near the ball. You don't believe me? Go back and watch the tape. What about better helmets, even if they look crazy? I don't care what kind of helmet you got. It's not going to be strong enough to withstand the proper impact or the perfect impact. It's just not going to help you at all. So the best thing is to keep your head out as best as you can. From my own experience, having a few at a very young age, I think the effects is the worst now is all these young guys constantly staring at screen. So your brain, oh, yeah, that's a good point. They never get a break from all the electronics. I never had seizures or anything like that. But you know those warnings they had on those video games years ago about the possibility of looking at the screen? That affects me. So when those games come on when I'm around, I have to look away when it's doing all that, because all that flashing and popping bothers me. So, and I've never been injured like that. So I can imagine some guy who's been dinged up a little bit, what kind of effect that's had on them. But that's a great point there, Movon. Well, if you guys just chiming in, I'm Coach Hall. I'm actually a high school coach, and I kind of took a break for a couple of years, but I'm trying to get back into the swing of it now. I'm doing basketball assistant, and I'm up for a head football job. So if I get that, I'll stick around. But if not, I might just be putting my retirement papers in, man, and just run my mouth full time. But I'm Coach Hall, as I said. I hope you guys like and subscribe. But I got like a minute before I got to get on out of here and go to work, man. But I appreciate you guys chiming in. But just to recap, I think the Commanders, yeah, everybody has a chance, but I think Detroit is waiting on them, and they're going to put something on Washington this week. Washington, the energy and all that to keep them in the game for a quarter and a half. The only thing they can hope for is Detroit turn the ball over. But that atmosphere is going to be so electric. They're going to know right away they're in the wrong place. But everybody's talking about Baltimore and Buffalo. That'll be an interesting game, but we'll talk more about that later. Can't get into it now. But like I say, for the interest of good sports talk. I'm going to have to catch up with you guys later, but right now, I got to go to work, man. So wherever you are, have a great day. All right, Evan, CV, appreciate it, man. Move on, have a good day, man. Who else? Edwin JC, Christopher Bristol, Donkey Kong, 7PRS, JC, Perks Forever. You guys have a great day. De'Ami Brown. Until next time, this Coach Hall on Sports.